All right. Oh, you're right. Well, I was just waiting for us to all get here. And then we can get moving. All righty, good evening. I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call of council members to establish a quorum.
Prashad Deokawa here. Vicky Wanna here.
Laurel Hillward here.
Chelsea Parker here.
Leanna Glenn are here.
Kristen Woods here.
All right, thank you. We do have a quorum. Now that'll take us into the invocation. This is our school. May peace dwell here. May the rooms be full of contentment. May love abide here. Love of one another, love of our school, and love of life itself. Let us remember that as many hands build a house, so many hearts build a school. Right, item 1.4, are there any agenda modifications? Okay, hearing none, that'll take us into item 1.5, audience members to address the council. As there are no audience members in attendance, we can go ahead and head into item 2, the consent agenda. Right, I will entertain a motion when somebody is ready.
Go ahead.
Please go ahead, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Leanna, for the motion and Laurel for the second. We will go ahead and call for a vote.
Trisha, aye. Vicky, aye.
Laurel, aye.
Chelsea, aye.
Leanna, aye.
Kristen, I. No.
Alrighty, motion passes. That takes us into item 3, the faculty grade level report.
Well, faculty are not able to attend tonight. Many activities going on this week. Sarah Lee is having her 5th grade play, so I can see more people here for the, and I got to see at least part of it today. That was fun. Plays going on tomorrow, or Friday in 2 other grades, and we have, so invite you all to the spring concert tomorrow night. 5 o'clock for food, 6 o'clock for performances. So that's what's going on.
Great, thank you, Susan, for that. And does anybody have any questions for Susan on the grade level report?
Actually, just for state testing results of this year, when those.
They start coming out in about a month or so, about 6 weeks after the testing is done, we start to get them.
And is that available in Aries? Or is that?
Not remembering.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, no one can hear me. I forget about the mic sometimes.
That is fine. All right, so that takes us into item 4, governance. We'll start with Vicky and the finance committee report.
I really can't read my notes. I do, generally, it was a good report. Tim had no worries. The one thing I do remember is that we had some one-time granted funds that need to be. We need to decide where they go before they expire. Yeah. Alex, did you do the notes on that meeting? The minutes?
Like the minutes?
Yes. Would you need to pull them up?
Yes, thank you, Alex.
They're not formatted yet. So they're my brain notes, but we can pull them up.
Okay.
So hand symbols and then just go through.
Not to put you on the spot, Alex.
Alex, you don't have to do that. Actually, what do you guys want to know about the finance?
I have a question. I don't know, and maybe this would be more of Jim Weber question, but my understanding is the COLA is going to be like 8%, but that the governor is taking back a bunch of funds that he offered schools. Do you know anything about this?
That's my understanding also. Yeah, he's done the 8% plus COLA, but then some of the other funds like the recovery funds and things like that, he's pulling back on some of those things for this year, so it's.
So will it be close to a wash or is it
Don't
actually?
know yet.
Okay,
Don't know
yeah,
yet.
just,
It's
That's-
just, it's hard, I had a text from. A friend who is in education on a teacher level and was like, what's going on? Because you get an 8% COLA, I think, oh, raises, but what they're doing is giving us that and then taking us other money away,
Yeah.
so. What I'm telling everybody at this point is like, we don't know anything yet.
Okay.
I truly do not know anything.
okay,
yet,
thank you
so.
for that.
What Jim was excited about was cash flow. He was very clear that we had no problems with cash flow.
Right.
And
That's great.
so- for the summer, so that was exciting. He was excited about that.
Good.
That's excellent,
That
because
is-
summer months are the months that tend to be tricky if we don't get money in, so that's nice going into summer to already have that confidence.
And you will know, I've never seen him giddy before, and he was like. And it's, I have to continue to say how much I appreciate it, because the number of reports that are required now, which he covers for us. Is a lot, so as they keep giving us money and then sending us a new report to do. Lots of like, you haven't done your report, sure, it's due next week, like, so it's, I don't know. Getting pretty crazy about that, but,
Yeah.
so I'm very appreciative of the work that he does for us.
I just comment that for smaller and charter schools, it's quite a burden. I mean, in some of the big districts, you have committees and whole departments working on these reports. And then
There's
when
like,
you've got Susan working on it. or-
it has a department of 3 just at the district office, and then they'll also have, principals and so on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's me and Maggie
yeah.
and so, and Jim, so we're appreciative.
all right, does anybody have any questions about the finance committee report? And I would say, Vicki, you asked a question earlier about what we want to hear from the finance committee. I would say for me and with my experience in the
Right.
finance committee, it's typically anything notable, notable changes like not being concerned with the cash flow. That's a big thing
That
to
is a
report
deal.
out.
Okay.
Having, if there's any unexpected, changes in finances that are coming up, or if you guys discussed, any usage of funds that may then be coming to us later, that's a nice opportunity to
did.
share that.
There
Um,
are some specialized grants that are either available or gonna be available that need directing.
That's great.
So,
And another
yeah,
one-
that's good news, money to spend, but we have to do it in the right way at the right time.
Sure.
Yeah, and I would echo that, as saying, like, if there's like any money that came in that was unexpected, or any money that was going out that is unexpected,
That's
like
right.
in one way or the
Yeah.
other.
Right.
That's kind of my high level things that I look at, like in the finance. Is there anything that was like
Yeah.
out of sorts with the budget, stuff like that?
Anything.
And I think it was nice that Amber always kind of gave, sorry, for Amber's think
No.
about the ADA meeting, like always having that
Yeah.
tally. And I was about to ask if like how, now that we're past May, we did all the in-house registration, what's that looking like right now for our wait lists or moving forward?
We
for
have,
the classes?
we have 3 classes, and I don't have the specific ones, with wait lists are, well, plus kindergarten. Though we are continuing to push for kindergarten to see if we can open a 3rd class. We have, the remainder of the classes are, 3 of them have like 28 or 29 students, and then, 2 of them have about 25, so we're pretty close to full, we're somewhere around 15 or so that we can still take unless we can open that class. So my big push, I think that's in my report. I'm still working on how we can get that 3rd kindergarten class up to a level. I think we have 9 on the waiting list right now, and I've said, if we get up to 16, we work on opening class. So.
Well,
And that ADA is where we're at right now, not necessarily the intent to reach her and starting next year.
This is for next year with
Okay.
students that have said they're gonna return and new students that are intending to come.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And there's always a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
flux, so
Yeah.
that's where we are right now.
This is probably not the right time to say it, so I wanna say awesome on the email for summer.
Oh, right.
7:15 to 4 o'clock, summer school programs, so I think that.
Yeah.
A lot of parents all the way up to sixth grade, so.
Yeah.
All right,
Cool.
for finance committee, are there any other questions? All right, thank you very much, Vicky. That'll take us then into the parent council report.
Yes, I did not make the last one, but that was really for them to kind of dial in for next year. Which is what I was just gonna report on. I think that they really found their rhythm and they're really organized. Mayfair was a success. All tables were full. They really had the signups early out. I think everybody felt that it went really smoothly. It was inside this year. And it was really beautiful. It felt very intimate. The music was great. There was so many different performances. We did go over some of the LCAP of needs, and a lot of people asked, like, focus on social justice and the diversity piece, and then an equity piece here. And Susan spoke to that as well there. You know, approving for fundraising requests in general, and there was a whole discussion on fundraising as a whole. Myself and Ryan spoke about, you know, maybe proposing something that used to be in the past, but like a bigger festival just for middle school, so you're not scrambling to make, you know, parents, or they talked about maybe like a monthly thing that's very small, like a stipend, so that parents don't feel like they have to fundraise or the stress about it, you know. And but then we also talked about how that's part of the community and getting people together. So just a lot of talking, but everybody was really content and felt really good about the meeting in general. And then we just went over the spring concert coming up. And that was really it, a smooth meeting. And they, you know, they talked about charter council, they talked about, you know, asking grandparents and whatnot and family members in the community to help fill the 2 seats that we have available coming. And that they're gonna try to do their own, or they're bringing back a parent rep in the classroom, possibly to have PC rep and then the parent liaison. And bringing that back so that, you know, one person might be really good at that and they didn't realize that PC is not for them or vice versa. To help with just in legwork in the school. So
Okay.
feeling really very organized, very organized.
That's great. I'm glad to hear it. Does anybody have any questions for Kristen on the parent council report?
No, but, sorry, moving back to the overnight school field trip that was on the consent agenda, there was a date missing. I don't know if we need to fix that, like pull it in for Miss Matrix class, the dates aren't in there, does that matter for approving this?
Yeah, it does.
I could check, okay, so this, I thought we were gonna bring it up later, I didn't know that was up there to approve. Also on that one, like meeting because of the facility. How fast, she was asking about in general, the scope of once it's approved, how those documents get to the teacher. To let the venue know if there's like a timeline on that
On
after
the
that.
field trips?
That's on the
Okay.
field trip request form. The date shows 9/19/23.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just not on the, like, the agenda item that Alex typed up, so I don't know.
It's all right.
It's
The
as long as
cover
it's on
sheet?
this page.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I was like, I know I saw the date
That's
on there.
Yeah, I knew it was on there,
Okay.
but I said, okay, sorry. I just
No, that's
scrolled
I
through and saw that.
better to
Want that
double
to
check
next.
than to not
Yeah.
have valid information and everything. So thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions for the parent council report? All right, and Susan, would you like to give us an update on the equity and inclusion task force?
Well, it's been pretty quiet, with that, just, some work. You know, as the work has been more with the pedagogical team right now. Faculty has gone through and looked at the novel sets, they're asking for, changes in those based on grade levels, and that's part of our process right now to get that done over the summer. And the pedagogical team is working with faculty on the, you know, these things take time on the at a glance, you know, curriculum at a glance, so that we're clear as to, where we cover China. That, so that's what's going on, and just some development pieces like that. And then both the parent council and the staff both said this is still a big priority for us. So
That's great.
so it will continue to be something that we want to work on. And just talking, we have the setting the agendas up, for example, early in the year for I feel like I've said this stuff before, but it's still where we are. For the assemblies, to make sure we're scheduling people and not thinking about it 2 weeks before the assembly. That never happens. And then the work with the actually taking the social justice standards. The teachers have been working for the last couple of years with them as far as the block plans, but then are we clear enough and specific enough about what we're doing? So taking that then to the next level and strengthening that process.
Okay. Great, thank you, Susan. Does anybody have any questions for Susan on the equity and inclusion task force?
Yes, I do, about just helping to organize that, besides parents when they're coming in. We talked about someone up front that kind of did our community outreach or, those kinds of things. Is that, I know that many people wear many hats, but is that something that somebody could, do from here? Out of the equity, because I feel like we have spoken about this. And then it still happened with a few months here that we didn't have someone quite ready to come talk. They were already booked up.
Yeah.
And so, is there someone in mind, one or two people that we know that we can make sure that if they need a second person or something? Yeah.
So we're working at some front desk, but it is faculty reps.
Okay.
And office staff that are working on really putting that together now. And it's the same sort of thing like with our pedagogical planning when we are now our professional development plannings, like who do we want when,
Right.
and what do we want to do? So it's that, so we're working on that.
All right, does anybody else have any questions?
So I guess because I haven't been to one of those meetings, and do you guys usually have a speaker that comes and talks? Like,
No, we're talking about the assembly, so that if we're doing women, women's
like
history
students, got it.
or the LGBTQ,
Yeah, okay,
that's because a lot of the people in the community maybe who are, because we have to have also curriculum for school and different ages, which I really love about Blue, that they've done two different kinds, especially with the Native American piece or First Nations people. But a lot of people already looked up that do schools.
yeah.
And if we
Or
don't,
music or
you know,
dances and stuff like that,
Yeah.
so just being first a little bit because.
Doing it.
and just, so if you're doing Black History Month, of course, that's the month where everybody's asking someone to
Come
come
and do
talk
something.
about Black
Yeah.
history, so then
You
it
can
gets
plan it
picked up
in the future.
booked up
Yeah.
quickly, so
Yeah.
that's what Chris was talking about, it's like, let's get them booked up like and for
First.
the
Yeah.
year rather
And
than
then
doing
couple
it,
months
a
before.
month at a time,
Yeah.
so that's just planning and, organization, that sort of stuff. We need to do a little more of, so.
In some ways, I was gonna say a better, and that's kind of a judgment that a good model is to have them speak at any time of the year
Mhm.
and continue to acknowledge and do things around, say, January, like Black History Month, is it January, February?
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's kind of the whole point of curriculum that celebrates it once a year, and it's
Mhm.
so I would say, if you can't get the speakers that you want,
Mhm.
if they're more in demand at that time of year,
Do it another time.
There's
whatever,
no reason
yeah,
we have
do
to
it-
wait till that month.
do it
That's a
another
good
time,
point.
and it actually extends out
And-
people's sense of presence
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
of
that is-
minorities or people
Yeah,
with differences.
revisiting the content is always good.
Yeah, it's like,
Excellent.
yeah.
That's a good point. Bring that up.
Thanks, Laurel. All right, does anybody else have anything on the equity and inclusion task force? Hearing none, that'll take us into 4.4 with the facilities report.
Well, I wrote something down, Alex, if you have it, it's on the end of my, yeah, there it is. All right, so you asked me for a report on this. And it's been somewhat active, actually, even though we haven't talked about it too much. We haven't really been able to make a lot of progress on the Humboldt site. And as we looked at really designing the building and just in general talking about it rather than a committee, it is a very small site for Boulder School. It's 2.3 acre, you know, and we have more than that here, and we want fields. So we started to look at things like, you know, we couldn't do what we do here with kindergarten. And of course, we want kindergarten outside, you know, so that sort of thing. So, so that was kind of a step back on that. Turner Impacts called last month. They are no longer funding charter schools, and you know, we had it was a good conversation. They're sending us to other people that do that. But because of their financial, the way that they finance, they actually are saying there's other people that are better at this than they are. So they said you have to have your project ready by next month or else we can't fund you. And I said, we're not having a project ready now. So, you know, it was a good parting of ways. And then John Ross, who is the one that initially is the real estate people that we've been working with through Sacramento, and originally got us in contact with Charter Impact, is working on a new options for us as far as we're concerned, Charter Impact. They have shared 4 possible new sites. A lot of them they're larger, like 20 acres, which is too big. So and Becca's working on reviewing them, and we'll get the committee together to look at possibilities. He has a favorite. Somebody has to look at all of them, but he does have a favorite. It's the right size and a good location. So I've already asked John to look back out of that particular site, you know, clarifying the costs. So that's another possibility. But number 4 is really my big question for you. To move forward with Chico Unified is working on their facilities plan going forward. And I talked somewhat informally with the Chico Unified staff about if there was a place for us to build our school or a school that we could have. And the answer was a very kind and polite no. But as I, you know, went and Inspire talked about what they're doing and their needs and listened to the board. I also talked to Young Median Corps legal representation and CCSA. Young Median Corps suggested that we write a letter to the Chico Unified requesting that we be included in their facilities plan. And letting them know that we would be doing a Prop 39 request. That's the request that says we need a facility, you know, you're supposed to give us one. We haven't been satisfied with what they've given us when we've asked for in the past. However, now that they're in the facilities plan and are talking about abandoning sites and finding a new one for Inspire, it might be a really good time to make it a little more difficult for them to say no, because if they're saying, oh, we don't need it anymore, for example, here we are. So so that's what I'm asking. If you would like me to write that letter, if you're going to give me authorization to do that, then I will move forward. I also got connections with CCSA, which is our Charter Schools Association, that of the gentleman, and I haven't heard back from him, who helped with the initial Measure K issue. That's the funding that we have. And help to make sure the charters got included. And I think I was talking to 3 charter leaders, and they're like, we need to get him involved again anyway, because they're talking about a new measure, and we want to make sure we get that deal again where they set some money aside for charter schools. So that's where our facility is right now.
I think, given the fact, especially that public schools, and I know this is a public school, you know, but typical public schools tend to be, have traditionally been located in neighborhoods, which gives them an immediate advantage when you think about drawing student population. I feel like that would be a very good idea to kind of say, hey, we're here and not going away, and anyway, you know, there are situations too where should a charter move into a new, fresh location, the public schools may find themselves in some degree of competition with them for student population. And I'm speaking to the community we live in, Susan, where we've really seen that happen. It's been pretty dramatic there when the charter got a nice facility and set up. So I think it's a good idea, and I think thinking it through, I mean, you're tasked with doing it, but maybe reach out and see how some other communities have successfully made that appeal.
I would absolutely support us doing that. I think there are a lot of advantages, including the use of our Measure K funds, because then we can use it in so many different ways, both for building repairs, upgrades, anything, because being on a Chico Unified site, then it allows us a lot more flexibility in how to use all of that money to our benefit and not having to be quite so pigeonholed. In addition, I know from a budgetary standpoint, one of the biggest things that holds us back from being more competitive, even in salaries and the way we use our funding, is the fact that we're tied to such high rent prices in this community. And although we do get reimbursed for a portion of that, the portion that we don't get reimbursed for is still pretty hefty. So I do feel like we can do better for our teachers and our students and our staff by freeing up that money if we can work with Chico Unified to get an adequate site. I mean, we've seen that with Chico Country Day. They're able to be more competitive in that environment because they have a site that the cost isn't so prohibitive to be there. And then even when there's that slight fluctuation of ADA, you're not seeing such huge rent overhead that then you don't get that money for. So I think that we should absolutely.
And the
be
neighborhood
pursuing
aspect
that.
too.
Yes, I think that's such a huge component, but I think even just being more financially secure, because that's one of the things also, you know, when you're in a lease, especially since many commercial leases are long-term leases, that's something that's gotten us into troubled waters, if you will, and not into trouble, but into difficult financial situations, is having this facility that is so great in so many ways. But then as our school has, you know, downsized from when we first established the lease on this facility, you know, now it's a much bigger portion of our overall budget. And you can't just say, okay, well, now our school's smaller, so we're just gonna move real quick, or, you know, things like that. It's a much bigger process, and you know, that's been a really tricky one to navigate over the years.
So, wait, Susan or Chelsea, since you've done finance for so long, so if we had a school that was a Chico Unified provided site, so right now we get kind of a reimbursement for our rent, right? So does that reimbursement just go away and we have a facility that we're not paying Chico Unified for? We just no longer have the option to get reimbursed for the rent. Does that kind of help?
There are a variety of levels of that I can't
Okay,
answer with details.
Okay.
But
it does help us financially.
it helps us financially, and then that SB 740 reimbursement can be used also for improving sites and things like that. So
Got it.
I can't
bringing in more
speak a
current.
lot to that because I haven't
Yeah.
gone there with the details.
Yeah.
But that would be.
Okay, I just didn't know if we then in turn, like there was a set rent price, which you go unified and we were paying rent, like, and it can go up based on, you know, cost of living as well, or if it's more kind of like a set.
No, if we have a Chico Unified site.
Yeah.
Then we are on Chico Unified. As a school, we do pay a higher indirect fee, so right now.
The maintenance fee, I think, is.
The maintenance, maybe, yes, there's I think instead of 1%, we might pay another 2%, that it's max at 3%, I know. That to the district, and that's
Okay.
because we're using their
Their-
facility,
yeah.
so that, so if that's. It's a percentage of our overall income that
Okay.
would pay to them. For
For using-
oversight, yeah, so, and for using that facility, so that increases.
When we looked at the numbers before, the amount that we would pay to be on a Chico Unified Campus was substantially less than the amount that we're coming out of pocket for the rent.
Okay.
And so that, and the biggest reason, as Susan mentioned a little bit earlier, that we haven't pursued this previously, because the site offerings that have been
Yeah, I remember.
proposed to us
Right.
when we've discussed Chico with Chico Unified.
Yeah.
This option, we're not, although technically they were adequate and met the requirements that they have to meet, they weren't adequate for us to be able to run the school. I mean, it would have separated our student body over 2 campuses.
Yeah.
Which then makes
Yeah.
it nearly impossible to have a teacher that teaches Spanish,
Yeah.
or any of the specialties to multiple
complicated.
campuses. Yes, and so,
Yeah,
You know, with-
specialties, for example, they give us the number of classrooms based on the number of children through Prop 39, and so that's part of the issue. So therefore, specialties were not
Aren't
limited
included.
classes,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
it's like,
Okay.
we would get, a classroom for every grade, and then.
Not
That was about it, and so it's not,
and,
you know,
and
it's-
even then, it wasn't necessarily every grade, because depending on the number of students, they could require us to combine grades and have a
Mhm.
2-grade classroom, which works in a more traditional school.
Yeah, but with
But a lot different in our type of environment. So, but I would absolutely support this, because especially if we can work with Chico Unified, be part of the planning process and actually get a site that really truly meets our needs. I think it could be a huge, huge benefit, both for having a
Number
good
of ways,
school
yeah.
campus, but then also financially and being able to do improvements, being able to have. I mean, I know Chico Country Day has a great basketball gym that, they've been able to utilize funds for upgrades
It would be
like
great to
that.
be able to use those funds for things like that, like.
Or even Measure K
development and-
funds,
Yeah,
they can
exactly.
use those to install
Yeah.
a gym or whatever the next
Yeah,
measure is, that hopefully we get some bond money back to the charters again to be able to.
so do you need a motion to do that?
I think a
Direction.
motion would be good.
Okay.
Since you're telling me.
So I'll make a motion to, support Susan in drafting a letter to Chico Unified for Prop 39, is that right?
Well, actually, you're asking me to, ask to be included in the Chico Unified's, facility plan.
Asking to.
Write a
Ask
letter.
Chico Unified, do a letter to be involved in the Chico Unified planning, facilities planning.
I'll second that.
A second, oh, yeah.
Okay.
The other thing too, when you think about schools, one of the distinguishing features of any school site is that you see children, and I think sometimes this looks cloistered or something like, where are the kids and what are they
Yeah, you
doing
can't see
in
them.
that? And they don't envision, the environment very easily, and I think it would help. I mean, school security is important. But a school where there are no visible kids is a little,
I had no idea this was a school until we came.
pardon me?
I had no idea this was a school. until
Yeah,
we started.
I did, and I thought, what are they doing?
Like
You
a
know?
medical building.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, still looks like,
Yeah.
that, yeah, and will always look like that.
Yeah.
Okay, just
All right.
doctors.
Yeah.
No, I
Do you have a motion on the table? So is there,
favorite school picture.
are there any additional?
There's a
We
second.
do have a motion on the table. If anybody has any questions
Thank you, Chelsea.
specific to the motion, we can take those now. Otherwise, I'd like to call for the vote. All right, then I will call for the vote.
Trisha, I.
Vicky, aye.
Laurel, I.
Chelsea, I.
Leanna, I.
Kristen, I. Great. All right. Susan, it looks like that's the end of your facility report. Did you?
That
have
is the
anything
end
else?
of my facility report.
Okay, excellent. Then that'll move us right into item 4.5. The policy review second reading for health examinations, immunization, and administration of medications policy. That is a mouthful. All right. Did anybody have any questions or comments regarding this policy that they'd like to address?
The line in blue is what was suggested last time, so we added it in. I believe that was the only change made since your last reading.
Okay, thank you for.
One super quick, because I know we got off already at the time. Health examinations, you're saying by students going to their wellness checkups, not so much examinations here, correct? Meaning bring in the proof of wellness checkups and immunizations and the periodic. Or there's just like,
There are things such as eye exams, there's a list of exams that we do.
hearing.
Hearing, eyes are primarily, what they are. And then, the immunizations are included there also, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I will entertain a motion if you would like to make one.
Yes. I move to approve the health examinations, immunizations, and administration of medications policy standard operating procedures.
Thank you, Laurel, for the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Vicky. If there's no further discussion, I will call for the vote.
Trisha, I, sorry, I forget
Oh,
I
yeah.
started.
Vicky, I could start.
Carol, I.
Chelsea, I.
Leanna,
Sorry, Kristen, I'm ready on it. Sorry.
That is all right. I just wanted to make sure that we had your.
We're opposing this policy.
It's so throwing me off Wednesday, Tuesday, you know.
It is.
Oh, I added SOPs to that. Put on these little glasses.
Item 4.6 are the standard operating procedures, the communication and documentation SOP.
We don't have, need to approve that, but we do like to show you what we're doing.
Anybody have any questions on the SOP?
You know, the only thing I ever notice, or not the only thing, but a lot of times support staff needs to be particularly aware, you know, teachers typically are very aware of confidentiality, but sometimes you'll get a classroom assistant or something who isn't as aware and will communicate things in a casual setting. I'm not saying it's not addressed there, but just a comment, you know, that breaches of confidentiality in my experience have been things like, you know, somebody standing in line in a grocery store in a casual conversation and divulging information.
Not realizing they're in a.
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
talking
it's like
about
thinking
stuff
not
that-
okay there either, and you're not
Mhm.
authorized. you know,
Yeah, so we do use that, we have beginning of year trainings for our professionals
Yeah,
and staff, and we remind them every year. It's
yeah,
not a perfect world, but we do. talk
yeah, oh, I'm
about-
sure, yeah,
About that. And if it comes up during the year, we also.
yeah. The most egregious situations I can think of are sometimes when somebody will say, oh, I'm that child's aunt, and somehow in the school staff's mind, that gives them an entitlement to the information when they really don't.
Right, right.
You know,
We have, as far as Aries goes, we have very detailed discussions about
Yeah.
who gets what.
who that means.
Whenever there's a question, Kelly will bring it to me and we'll sit down and go over, you know, what the, you know, what's appropriate, and who
Yeah.
actually has it, rights, and
And mine is not, it's not a criticism, it's just a thinking back to when I've seen breaches, it's,
And it does, it is sort of with social media, parents group, things like that, it is a bigger issue because you don't
yeah,
have like the person that's picking the kids up all the time, but they don't have rights to the information and so it's, yeah, it becomes a real detail
yeah.
thing sometimes, so
Yeah.
yeah, it is an issue, we have to watch.
Good point. Does anybody else have any questions or comments on the communication and documentation of copy?
None.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll move into item 4.7 contracts, the speech and language pathologist contract with Advantage Therapy Solutions, services.
This has been vetted by the finance committee, and this is the first of a list of contracts for next year. That our speech pathologist is moving on to Shasta County and is not available. We've been talking to this particular service for a number of years to work with them because they're very qualified. So we're excited to actually be able to get them on board.
Is this a service provider that has experience with school
Yes, it
services?
is.
That's great. Are they working with any of the other local charter schools?
I can't tell you that for sure.
Is it teleservices though, or will they?
No, these are actually people
good,
that
wow.
come here. The only services we're looking at for next year is some of our ERMS counseling therapy, because that's very hard to get here locally and it takes a special credential to do. So that's the only thing.
I think that's great that you're able to get a
Yes. It's
speech and language
yeah.
in person.
Does anybody else have any questions on
So
this or
could
Vicky?
we-
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Did you say survey? No,
Services.
services. Oh, I was like, wait, I thought, this, because we currently have a speech person now, right? So, and she'll be here and this,
So that's what Susan was just saying.
Got
Our
it.
current speech person is moving to Shasta County.
got it, I missed that part as I was reading it. Okay, that's, okay, perfect. Okay, so they'll kind of step in and they'll have.
They'll have someone
some
and-
therapists.
For some of the special ed positions, we don't have full-time positions.
Yeah,
So our current person is 2 days a week.
yeah, correct.
So she's found a job that's full-time with benefits.
And so will they have somebody that's more dedicated to our site, or is it gonna be a different person?
It should be one person
Person
for
that-
our entire site.
Okay. Okay,
That's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But still limited to about 2 days a week.
About 2 days a week.
Trying to
which is-
what's our need.
Yeah,
That's what I was
yes,
saying.
yeah, we do
Okay.
look at and that's what we've had for a couple of years. You know,
And it's
so
worked.
Yeah, it's worked,
Mhm.
yeah.
Vicky, did you have anything to add from the finance portion like of this?
Cost wise, it's about the same. As what we're been paying now.
No bad news.
Okay.
No bad news.
All righty.
Yeah, I don't think we have any worries.
Okay. Great. Well, if there's no further questions, I will entertain a motion to approve this contract.
This is Kristen and I will entertain a motion, I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Advantage Therapy Services.
Great, thank you, Kristen, for the motion. Do I have a second?
This is Tricia, I'll second.
All right. Thank you, Tricia. I will call for the vote.
Tricia, I.
Vicky, aye.
Lorelei.
Chelsea, aye.
Leanna, I.
Kristen, I.
Excellent. All right, that then motion passes. Item 4.8, Charter Council application. Looks like we have Ryan Sanders applied for the parent seat.
Wasn't Ryan?
He's on finance.
He was, and then he had to switch out.
Yeah, because the time of day didn't bring it
Work. And so I guess maybe.
We still have a parent seat open and two.
We have the
have and one.
Yeah,
the
that's
one that
right.
Amber gave up is still open, so this would be an appointment by you for the remainder of the
Per
Amber's term, which, Alex, do you know how long that is?
Yeah. Actually, you know what?
I know that name.
And he's aware he can't do both.
Yeah, that was
He's willing to give
my-
that up, cause I feel like he's really
question.
become part of PC too.
Well, we,
Yeah,
Alex, I think you looked into that for
I don't-
us,
I
about
don't
him
think
being able to
there's-
do this, because that is not a Brown Act board.
I
Previously, it was a Brown Act board. It was considered a Brown Act
because
board.
I've asked if I could be parent rep and I've not been able to in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
For my
that was-
classes,
Yeah,
2 more years.
yeah,
2 more?
so that was my one question, one.
yeah, so that,
Yeah.
you looked into that, right?
I think, yeah, I think it was
25,
yeah.
I'm open to get started.
Yeah, that like charter council and finance issue members can serve on parent council, some question.
So they can be a rep, because he's just a finance rep, he's not a class rep. Is he a class rep as well right now?
He is the treasurer, he's not a
Right.
classroom rep.
So can you be a classroom rep as well?
You
And-
cannot be both, a classroom like rep and an officer. You're not supposed to be, well, he was for a while because there
Yeah.
wasn't.
So, but could you be a class rep and on charter, like charter? Charter council?
There isn't any bylaw or
Okay,
any.
So it doesn't matter
that
because
says
he's treasurer, so it's
Right.
not that, okay,
Yeah.
just for my own future.
no.
because-
Yeah, yeah,
So-
there isn't any, I mean, it's sort of, yeah, it is, there isn't any rule that comes
Okay.
right down to it that says no. We were treating the
Yeah.
parent council as an additional Brown Act
Yeah.
body, and so you wouldn't have representation
Yeah.
on both. But since we realized that wasn't effective and wasn't actually, there's no
Right.
member on
Yeah.
that, so. That it isn't, so that's kind of to change the interpretation of the parent council.
And so just for clarification, this would be. If we appoint him to this position, that would. Be through August 2024, is that correct?
That's
For
correct.
years. But for both squares where the
vacant.
last term
Right.
or last year.
So for one more week.
So we all know where we stand.
Or actually, does it go through school year or does it go through actually calendar year?
His school is August. And we vote in May, we vote in May, and then, well, we all vote in May, actually, and then, the position is open, takes over in August. So he actually could take over prior to that, because you're filling.
Yeah.
So as a board, we need to elect.
You need to appoint.
Yes, because
Accept
it's
that.
not an election time, so there's no election for this position. And there's also no additional applicants, so we can choose. We have the option to choose to leave the seat vacant, or we can appoint somebody who's interested to the position.
The elections are coming up in August, right?
The elections for the open seats
If we
are
have-
coming up in August.
I
If we
feel,
have,
because it's only a couple months. To do the training twice for the round, I think that there's been a lot of questions around it, it might be better. To just wait and bring the elections on and maybe really talk more about it, even not a town hall, but include more, because we've seen in the past. It comes and goes when people come to charter, still don't really feel that they understand. And they come in heated moments only, or certain moments, and then they don't understand, and I'm talking about the people out with the play in general. So it might be better just to hold the elections for community and parent seat at one time. Possibly, this is,
and the elections are.
The elections are now, that's part of the issue is. we
Yeah,
don't
it's like the
have-
election
Oh,
is
yeah.
now.
That's what I was
Players, so
Okay.
elections
Begin
be
and-
going
Going
on
on
right
now.
now, but
For them to start in August, yeah.
before they, so that they
So
started.
the problem is that too. Where is everybody? Why don't they want to be on this board? Why don't they?
It's,
Do we need to offer cupcakes?
it's not, it is unique here, though, it's.
It is not.
It's, I mean, COVID, accelerated the process of people wanting to nest and go home and not, and a lot of, not deal with the world. It's, every organization is really struggling. I mean, you know. I can think of several organizations that have literally begged
Yeah.
for participation and have not gotten it either, you know.
I'm on another board and we have the same floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging. And also some of it, Vicky, is the 2 seats that are open. And up for election are community members.
We're gonna have one community member after.
And so,
Yeah,
So what do we do in that
So we're
situation?
losing Chelsea and Laurel.
Mhm.
I have not, look at Susan, I cannot look at
Don't make
Susan.
eye contact. Laura.
You know, logic would tell all of you that I should be done, but,
You can only let her do.
but I appreciate, you know, it's a. Well, no, I don't need to be talked into it. I don't see myself. Going off at this point. I really don't. I mean, I think at my age, I'm 70, you know, it probably will be a health crisis where I call up and go, I can't go there anymore, or something like that, but.
You know, it keeps you young, a full calendar.
Yeah, but I don't, but I don't see myself, I don't see myself asking to go off. I
Well,
really.
that's great. Just so
In
you
fact, I
all
was kinda
know,
like-
I am going off.
We have heard you, Chelsea.
You told us.
Yeah.
I
About
just-
a year.
I just want to make sure I.
And you've done a great job, Chelsea. I mean, you've been,
Going and making sure.
No,
there's
you've been a-
not vacant.
So can we?
you've been such an asset and so active and yeah, me, I just show up.
So,
So how much, so I know, and we know how much we need to beg. You know, bargain and whatever else we need to do if we only have 2 community members. Does that give us a quorum to hold meetings?
yes, you can't, all of the parents can't, we've done.
Also, we would only be able to have 2 parents vote in
Same vote,
community, and
yeah.
that's still enough to hold a meeting and make a decision.
It is.
Okay.
It is. It's not ideal because
Sure.
then it doesn't
But we can
give
still
all of the
function.
parents, yes,
Okay.
yeah,
That's a good
Yeah.
point. Yeah,
Um,
if you completely.
yes.
Yeah.
So before we get
Okay.
too far down the discussion of,
So there is
Community
no other
members.
applicant
there is an
for the
applicant
election.
for a parent seat. We have the option of appointing him. And then his term, we have, in addition to the option of to appoint or not to appoint him, we also can make the decision to have him come on early because the term that he would be filling is already in process.
Mhm.
Or we could appoint him to start in August when hopefully we also have some community member board seats, or at least one board seat coming on in August. So then we'd have 2 onboarding at the same time.
Should give him time to vacate his current council or finance.
Yeah, that's what they were saying, is that it was determined because that's not a Brown Act
Oh, okay.
committee, that he does not have to.
I mean, and you guys have been on committees. I mean, he was on the finance. He's been pretty active on parent council.
Yeah, I'm not super.
Yeah,
familiar.
and I mean, I acknowledge that I haven't been active on any committee.
Yeah.
you know.
So, I mean, I guess, I mean,
He's done an excellent job of bringing the treasurers.
yeah,
A lot of clarity to the funding and how parent council makes money and does seem to have a head for structure and organization.
Yeah.
So, I
This
think
looks like,
that he would be a good member of the board.
he looks like a wonderful.
yeah, I would agree with that. I think that he's pretty organized. Something he's done on the finance committee. Or not the finance, with parent council as part of the finance, when he took all of those funds and created that report that he presented to us.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I think it would be great. I mean, I think that's one of the things that, we have acknowledged on multiple occasions, that it is very helpful to have somebody who's financial minded, who's comfortable and confident looking at the numbers and hashing through those on this board. I mean, his resume shows that he's very well-rounded and has a lot of skills and a lot of like creativity and ingenuity.
I like that.
Wants to be here,
Yes.
Yeah.
so I think
Yeah.
that's it.
So for me,
He wants to be here.
yes, and
I've heard of
it.
a demeanor for working well with others, an attitude. many things. I've never heard of a knack.
knack.
Somebody has a knack for working. with-
I like it, yeah.
So we need a motion to accept.
Yeah, I would say that he's pretty collaborative from what I've seen, like working with them,
I think it's funny.
with Mayfair class, like as a class rep. I would say he's pretty collaborative.
Okay. So it sounds like there are no concerns that I could hear. So then I will entertain a motion, and if you're making the motion, please include whether or not you are making a motion to
Now,
yes,
Now.
to start now or.
well, and we don't have any community applications.
I do not have any community applications yet.
And really the onboarding is more. Just getting it up to speed when we're in the meetings more than anything. There's not really like an onboarding process beforehand.
There is the training through our support
Yeah.
organizations on Brown Act.
But is that online? It's not,
It's
they don't,
online.
yeah, so it's individual.
So if you make the choice to appoint him, I'll share that
Yeah.
information with him so he can. Get that done before August, which I always think is a good idea.
It seems to me that last time I kind of went through this process, I was expected to write a little bio of why, I mean, I was basically in a position to have to run again.
Yes, and
Mhm.
you are this time too, but we have the information from last time, yeah, so.
You're trying to make
don't
it
need
easy.
to write it.
Very easy.
Well,
Just change the
I've added
numbers,
to my
you know.
vast experience, so.
You do.
Kevin and I just had a very successful beekeeping class that Chico State Farm, so.
Nice, you could add that to your.
Okay,
charter school
yeah,
resume.
well,
Okay,
I guess, like she's saying, there are no applicants, but. Coming on, you know, and we meet throughout the summer a bit, but August would be a good start date. I'm not saying that we don't not need him right now. But I don't know if they were gonna be doing something through PC again. I wasn't there on the special meeting that they had.
They usually
To
don't
give
meet
him
during
time to
this.
close up, to talk to parents. I don't know, their class seemed to be pretty, you know, collaborating and that, I don't know if he's still gonna be doing stuff. And just hope like I can try to do PC stuff or PC, I mean. Outreach for community as well and try to bring people on together. I think it's just stronger too,
Yeah,
you know, instead, I don't know, but it looks like it also might not matter. We don't have the community. Applicants, or maybe they didn't know that they needed to be turned in.
yeah,
I
and
know.
and I would agree if we had more people to bring them together, I would say, I think. Ryan probably is pretty up to speed on what's going on within the. Charter Council, so I don't think there'll be a whole lot of, in our meetings, bringing him up to speed. I think he stays. Like, I think he goes through the agenda in minutes and stuff, would be my guess, as well. I will be gone for. The July meeting, so I don't know that that matters, because as far as quorum goes, but just having another person, if we need another person, as far as voting goes, if that matters.
I'll be gone for the July meeting and I believe back for the August meeting.
I'll be gone for the June meeting.
Just with summer. Number.
I want to write to the governor and say, have you quit all Zoom meetings? Because
Yeah,
I think it is better for us to come together, but sometimes the alternative of attending, I mean, if you could have at least a percentage
yeah,
of meetings that you could be,
Mhm.
you know,
I agree.
absent but present. I mean, it's not that tall in order, but
If they can
but
have
just-
telehealth for mental health, why can't?
Yeah, why can't you have a board? meeting?
Attend to make some,
Yeah.
you know. exactly.
Yeah, you think Newsom doesn't attend any Zoom meetings
It was
and
winery.
maybe that's what's wrong.
Well, he doesn't have to belong to any boards. He's
Well,
only-
no,
He doesn't
no,
have to vote with the legislature, he just has to
Well,
ask. for the
right,
stamp,
right.
So he doesn't,
Got the
he
feel.
doesn't have to do that, so yeah, I'm sure he does a lot of Zoom meetings. but-
he didn't even have to make sense, so.
okay.
I just.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I would think.
Getting up to.
I'll make
Okay,
a
yeah.
motion to. Are we appointing or accepting? Appointing Ryan Sanders for Charter Council starting. Immediately, so, or next meeting.
Second,
Okay, Great, so it's Tricia with the motion and Laurel with the second. Is there any further discussion before we call for the vote?
None.
Okay. Then I will call for the vote.
Trisha, I.
Vicky, I.
Laurel, I.
Chelsea, I.
Yeah, I.
Kristen, I keep wanting to wait for Susan.
Trying to get me to vote.
Susan, maybe you'll just have to say like, Susan, I'm voting. All right, well, the motion passes, and so, Susan, will you handle notifying Ryan
Yes.
that he has been
Alex and I
appointed?
will. I know that.
And please, urge him to have all the Brown Act training prior to the next meeting.
Mhm.
Just to, because
Well,
that's such an
send them the
important,
link.
We'll give them the clue.
Yeah.
well, it's such an
yeah.
important piece of compliance for the board.
Do they have to
and
do it
keep
for
us-
finance committee?
Yes,
So he's
we,
done
yeah,
it.
well, he hasn't done, I don't think he did it before.
Oh,
Typically,
It's at the
and
top.
typically it's the chair of the committee
it's more.
that is
than the
like,
first.
that's the big requirement. Yes,
Okay.
it's beneficial for everyone on it.
Got it. I didn't know if it was, yeah.
As long as the person running the meeting can keep everybody compliant.
Yes, okay.
That's at least. All right. So that takes us into item 4.9, the Form 990 return.
So this is the annual tax return, it's been vetted by the auditors, have written it. We've reviewed it, it's been reviewed by the finance committee. And needs your approval.
So this is all done, right?
This has been done, yeah. This is,
The tax return.
it's the tax return.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on the Form 990 tax filing? Forgetting to check in the. Okay, so hearing no questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the Form 990 return.
This is Kristen. I'll make a motion to approve the Form 990.
Thank you, Kristen. with the
I'll
motion.
second that.
Thank you, Vicky, with the second. There are no further discussion. I will call for the vote.
Trisha, I.
Vicky, I.
Laurel, I.
Chelsea, aye.
Deanna, I.
Kristen, I.
Excellent. Motion passes. That takes us into item 4.10, the E-rate funding approved. Susan, is this just a informational? Because we did vote on this previously, right? And this is just the good news.
Yes.
We don't have to accept the money. Okay.
No.
I did notice that Pac Bell is listed on there, which I didn't even have Pac Bell is still a telephone company. So
Like, who has, well,
I didn't even know Pac Bell was still like a business name. So, yeah, yeah,
I think over Rotary.
yeah, yeah. PayPal.
well, that, excuse me.
So this is just informational.
Good
To
information.
let you
It is.
know that we're still. Using the E-rate system and will continue to.
That is great. I'm so glad that we've been able to. Put on this.
Well, been a big one for us. Yeah, great. That's great.
For sure. All right, does anybody have any questions regarding the E-rate funding?
No.
Excellent. Hearing none, and that will take us into 4.11, the help.
So this is where we are. Kristen already has seen the town hall information. I've reached out, this is also in my report, but we are still in the process of collecting information from students and parents as far as what their biggest concerns are for our LCAP. This is our second year, so we're not really writing any new goals or making any changes. We're primarily just reporting the work that we're doing. And so we the next step as we do the budget, then the budget loads into the LCAP for next year. And so we're on a little bit of a pause as we're getting the budget done. So that's where we are with it. It will need to be approved. We'll need to have 2 meetings in order to approve it next month.
Yeah.
And we've done that before where we have a regular meeting and then 2 days later we have like a. Yeah, yes, we'll approve it.
They don't have to be on different days.
They do have to be
Yeah.
on different days,
Yeah.
but it's still, I
So
guess.
The special meeting for the second LCAP approval meeting can be just that on the agenda.
Right.
Be a very quick
Right.
stop by. and-
But
We just all stayed here till midnight. We could just-
Oh, we will have it at 10 o'clock tonight and then.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great time for
Yeah.
someone else.
So, would you roll through the town hall meeting?
Well, maybe we should just hold meetings in 2 time zones.
So this is just the graphic from the state as to all of the systems and how it all fits together. One system of support, conditions of learning, engagement, and student outcomes are the 3 major areas, and then within those, there are additional pieces. The 2 on the right, expelled youth and foster youth, are only required by the county offices, so we don't have to do something special for them, but we do have to include those other items. And the goal is education from cradle to career and healthy, safety, engaged, challenged, and supported. So those are all sort of the keywords that we'll talk about with the LCAP. So these are our 3 goals that we wrote a couple of years ago. The first one, every time I read it, I take a breath in the middle because it's very long, but it is all encompassing of the safe, healthy, equity, and common core, inclusive, Waldorf inspired. Those are all whole child. Those are all key words. So, and that's our big goal with our most action items. Then we have the next 2. Which is about engagement and a strong academic program. So those are the pieces to it. 3 goals that we have, and so this is what we're looking at. You know, why are these things important? Where are we with it? You know, what are we? And basically, the question has been, how are we doing? And what's the most important stuff to you as we talk to parent council and staff, faculty staff. So our goals, so we've gone through each of those. Parent council really wants us to work on healthier lunches. So it's a tough one though, so we're still working on that. We talked about the new site, increased security for the current site, some of the things we've done with cameras and things like that. Getting our teachers, our credentialing issue is still a big one for the state of California. So we're still working on that, so. Social justice again came up as a priority in both the parent council and with the staff as a whole. So what are we doing, the things that we've done so far there? And then we get into depth as to how we do more. And then professional development was a big one for staff at all levels. Previously, there's been a lot of focus on faculty, but we're really talking about paraprofessionals also now as needing a clear plan for professional development and training. I've just had a lot of really positive comments on our new design of the special education with having 2 teachers able to work together as a team and be in the classrooms and support the aides and the teachers. A lot of work on what is good data collection and you know, how we use the data and what's reasonable. And you know, when you're collecting data, you can collect a lot of data. So really, what is it we need for making decisions? So just a lot of positives around how that is going and that feeling of cohesiveness between those 2 pieces of our educational program. And then with Ally Welch taking on our math specialist position. She also has been an advocate for improved science instruction in the school and not improved so much as more coordinated. So she has asked and is excited to be adding that to her specialty. So we'll have the ELA, ELD, they both have ands in their title. So they're having ELA and ELD, which is English and English is a second language. With Hunter, and then Ally will be taking on math and science, so that's exciting. And then we will be over the next couple of years reviewing the lower grades math curriculum. It has been a significant improvement over the previous one, but they're still asking whether or not it's the best that they could do, so we're gonna do that. And then action 7 is just a generic one that says, yes, we're going to continue to support those
So,
items, and then money can be attached to that.
so with the new state edicts on music instruction. Your Blue Oak is already meeting that, isn't it? Yeah, that's pretty
Yes, we're
cool.
just taking that grant.
Yeah, because there's a big scramble now
Yeah.
for music teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there interesting?
And we're, we love this band.
If they keep it up long enough, they'll all be Waldorf's school, whether they know it or not.
We've got to get them
I look at all of the
how
different-
important handwork is. That's what I'm saying. We got to figure out how to make them understand.
I know.
Yeah, they do.
And it's incredible for fun, just so many different things. I just wanted to say, to speak to this, our equity team, you've done it 3 years before it went state, right? Now it's like mandatory. Music as well, you know, it got taken so many times, you know, and now Chico Unified is doing yoga and movement as part of their curriculum for the state, for their public schools, and we've been doing that for, you know,
Yeah.
it's just.
It is interesting that
They got
they're
it
getting,
already,
yeah,
you know.
they're figuring out, all these kids are messed up, what can we do? Well, look at the whole child.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to stop using computers.
Pardon me?
Well, it's the computer, so many concerns around it.
Yeah.
It's been on screens,
Oh, yeah.
but we'll work on that. We'll get back to good, healthy education.
Yes.
All right. So parent engagement was a big discussion in the parent council. Kristen mentioned they really are excited about the idea of bringing back the class parent. Their wholehearted main thing in this, I think, was less parent square and more personal connection. So so we'll work on that. And then they would like the parent enrichment night to come back, so all of that is
That's great.
part of their input, which was really good. Student engagement continues to be that universal design for learning, and how can we both extend and strengthen the higher level student as well as working with the struggling student, so that will continue to be a goal. School climate is going to be, I'll just be blunt and honest with you. The behaviors that we've seen, and this is at least statewide, but the behaviors that we've seen students come back to school with after COVID have been significant, and this is everywhere. The assessment that they really, especially for middle school students, they've lost a couple of years of socialization, their most important years of socialization. And that's, 4th and 5th grade, 5th and 6th grade. Those are the years where they're really moving from being focused on their parents and their family to their friends. And at that time, they weren't with other kids. And so we're realizing they're making poor decisions, and you talk to them and they're like, oh, yeah, I guess that was a bad decision. And it's not that they're bad kids. Or it's just that they really have done something. They say, did you realize you did that? And they're like, oh, that probably wasn't a very good thing to do.
Yeah.
And so it really is that sort of education that had we been talking to them 2 years ago, they wouldn't be doing it now, but they're kind of. Yeah, so it is, as I've said, no matter what school I talk to, it's or we talked to, everybody's like, yeah, it's been a tough year for behavior. So I know our numbers are gonna go up, just telling you the dashboard is gonna be going up. But we are addressing it, we are teaching children the better things to do, we are getting them to act differently, so that the work that we're doing with them, they are learning, but that doesn't mean they don't make the mistake first, so that's kind of up here. And then the work we're doing, we had sent 2 families, letting them finish off the year, one of them for sure saying, we've enjoyed having you, but you're not able to attend and you need to be somewhere else where attendance is better. And we have one other child that we're looking at for this. We also have a couple that are leaving that have had really low attendance, and we're feeling like that might be just them realizing they need to make a priority to get their children to school, and Blue Oak is hard to get to.
Yeah.
So and that along with our full classes, that's all part of the same. That just means that we'll have room for somebody that's on the waiting list to come in. So, and that's the goal, is to get students here and so that they can learn and be a part of the community consistently. So feeling like that's going in a good direction for us to and doing all of the positive stuff. We're having a positive attendance party. We're doing the Blue Oak leaves for kids when they come, and all of the plans that Amanda shared with you at the last meeting. So feel like good stuff is going on here. Student achievement assessment, and as we've told you, our ELA, unlike the majority of schools, our ELA scores improved last year, so we're actually in the middle of the pack instead of below the pack. Maths did strong, didn't improve, but also didn't go down. Doing a lot of work with how we implement how we work with implementing supports, getting a lot of really good information and work with our ELA scores. For example, in 4th grade, we, as many of the schools during the pandemic, found high students got higher and low students got lower. So really crossing that and really bringing them all up and being able to do that assessment, we're seeing that happen. Talked about the reorganization of SPED already and our expanded learning grant that will help with all that as far as homework after school. So, and then other student outcomes, these are harder to measure, but still civic engagement, critical thinking, and problem solving are areas. I have to think about how we really report that. And then our field trips, our garden, our experiential learning is just continues to be good and rebuilding as we actually get to do field trips again.
Some of the civic engagement, critical thinking, what about like, just example, like the things like our school were to be on a list for certain things like the mud run or science fair, or something that's county where, even Feather River, what is that, where Concal moved to, they were part of a robotics that goes to Sacramento, and even though it's not a lot of funding, it wasn't much, it's a parent or community, but getting involved in something where there's that kind of bit of competition. To also put us out there, but also that engagement and the critical thinking and problem solving, and the team that we're trying to get the integrated school,
Yeah, I do hope that with Ally taking on science to the science fair will become part of what we do, because it makes so much sense for Waldorf to be doing that. Civic engagement, I think we used to do things like work for Habitat for Humanity for a day, that sort of thing, really engaging, being part of the light parade, those sorts of things. How can we help build that civic responsibility in children? We do it well overall. When you talk to the kids, they get it, but we don't actually do a lot of activities right now that are clearly defined.
And I hope my accountability is recorded. What about the Hope Center? going up there, finding which block for the sixth, seventh and eighth.
Mhm.
And going up there and setting up all the lunches, and making it like a field trip day.
Yeah.
Can be something that we can do, and then giving back to the community of Paradise, because they're in Paradise now. That would be a really great idea.
So it's those sorts of planned activities that, again. Went away.
Yeah.
And I think in a bigger picture, and I mean, we won't go into the difference, but. Service learning, implementing actual service learning projects in the classrooms.
Mm.
So if anybody ever wants to talk about that, I'm,
You wanna come to a training?
Yeah,
on staff on service learning. Laurel?
pardon.
Gonna come to a training on a staff on service learning.
What
I'll
day?
put you on the
When?
list, it'll be.
Oh, see,
that'll
she
be
just
the-
needs you to schedule.
Like,
Okay, what?
Okay, it'll be like a Thursday.
On the third,
Okay.
Thursday in August. There
Let's
you go.
talk about it, because I would even be into scholarshiping a couple classes to, magnify what they're doing and stuff, but so we won't talk about it now, but
Okay, I'm
We'll talk
gonna
about
put
it.
you on the PD list, so.
okay.
Excellent.
And then to wrap this up, I know you said survey, do you have a timeline when those may go out over
It
summer?
should go, yeah, it'll be going out in the next week or so.
Oh.
I'd like to really get it back. By the end of next week, so,
Okay.
because after that, people are. Yeah,
They turn everything off, yeah.
yeah,
And then since people said stuff about Parent Square not being really a great tool, how else?
I don't know that it's not a great tool, I think we use it too much, I think it's like. People get tired of it, and we've talked about this when we first got it, it's like at
Yeah,
one point, we talked about Monday was gonna be admin, Tuesday would be class, so that we're. Not bombarding teacher families, we have 3 children here at 3 different classes. You can be getting a lot of notices, so we probably need to look at that again and think about to straight, get that, it's like, so you don't hear from your teacher 3 days a week, you hear from them. 3 days a week, and that sort of thing, then, anyway, but I don't know that we can get rid of, I mean,
Yeah.
we can't eliminate it, but I think it's more that they really want to get together as a community,
Yeah.
the festivals. That sort of thing, and what are we doing more to get together as a community?
Yeah, I think it's a good informational tool, like I don't mind it with the 3 kids, I wish we would use that instead of sign up genius, because when we're doing signups and sign up genius, and there I get confused. That would be my only, because it has a sign up function,
Yeah, it does.
Parent Square, yeah.
But I think
Multiple
that-
places, and you're like, where was that?
yeah, exactly, that's what I do.
Yeah.
My only thing that I've noticed is as my kids are getting older and I'm not maybe in the halls or coming to the classroom, I miss that interaction. Right, and so I think some of it could be that, just as children are getting older, you're growing out of that just naturally because you're not having to go and pick up your children and make eye contact with your teacher.
It's a really good.
So I don't see the parents in
Yeah.
the hallway. We used to stand in the hallway and talk before our kids
Gotcha.
came out, and we don't get that anymore. And I don't think that has anything to do with Parent Square. It's just our kids are getting older, so we don't have to do that.
Well, and.
It's very insightful.
No, they don't. I know.
Ew, don't grab, no.
I know,
leave me over here.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, my third grader tonight made me very aware that I don't have to pick him up anymore, and he can wait on the side. for me. He's old enough to walk there by himself.
See,
Just wait until he asks you, can you pick me up at Safeway or Brayley's or whatever the store down the street is, like.
I can't wait for that one with my grandchildren.
All right,
so that's just a brief where we are with the LCAP, and we'll get them more formal.
Susan, thank you for all your work on it. I mean, it's a tremendously big job, and I appreciate that you toil away at it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
all right. Do anybody have any other questions regarding the LCAP? Okay.
I would do the ROP grant with my young, but like career day or like having parents come in, like trying to get like that critical thinking part of stuff. If people understanding like jobs, like stuff like that. I don't know, I always think that kids are interested in that. Like I know my kids come to my office and they like sit at the front desk,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
like take turns walking in the door and being like, oh, what kind of house would you like to buy today? And they like play like that. So I think they like being in those like grown up environments still and learning.
That would be a great idea, of parents setting up for a job fair, career fair, just to have them go around
Just explain what it
Yeah,
is or.
That would be awesome, and it'd
Yeah.
be an engagement, we can be
Yeah.
here, snacks, food, and BC can sell some food for funding or something.
No, I'm in with that. I'll
We'll
do the
let you move
beekeeper one.
on.
There you go.
That's great. Lots of great ideas. And Susan, you said we're not taking action on this today
No,
because
we're
we are
not.
still waiting. for
Okay.
ideas.
That's to let you know.
I just want to make sure that I don't go on to the next thing if you're like, actually, I need some.
Not today.
Okay.
I wish
perfect.
today, but we're not ready.
Right. All right, great discussion, and that'll take us into 4.12 voluntary financial support for staff member proposal.
Right. So this came about because the parent council voted to support one of our teachers who had a significant medical issue. And to wanting to give her some money, so it sounded great, everybody was okay with it until I talked to the auditor. And he was like, well, this is great, you can do this, but the IRS will not allow a nonprofit to give money to an individual. Unless you have established a class of people that you give it to. So we went back and worked with the finance committee, and this is one of the things that happened with the finance committee. And reviewed what they would like to do to establish a class. There was no cost at all to the school for this. This just simply allows people to give us money that we can then give to our pass through for our employees.
Oh, I see. So like if I wanted to make a donation for that individual, I could actually make the donation to the school.
So-
And specify it to go to that individual.
Well,
and then
you
would be
can
able
set it
to-
to go, this,
Or a
that's the tricky
fundraiser.
part, you have to set it to go to that class of person. You may not be able
Oh,
So you
gotcha, so not necessarily that
specifically to that
individual, but to employee support.
Yeah.
So you could fundraise for a specific employee, or you could fundraise for that class of employees.
Yes.
And the only question I would have, and maybe this is certainly maybe this is tricky, but is it a current employee? A current employee will qualify to receive community support through Blue Oak gift, yada, yada. Do
I
you-
like that
Oh,
addition, we haven't.
So,
Yes,
don't have
because
that.
even in the
Mhm.
bullets, this employee has a serious health condition and has 6 or more years of continuous service, but not necessarily current.
yeah, so.
Current, so we want to add the
Add
where
the
you
word
are
current.
asking to
And
add the.
If
word
they're on a
current.
leave of absence, are they still considered current?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, under the.
Yeah, for a health
I think it's
insurance,
under
yeah.
employee
program.
Mhm.
So we're creating a class of serious health
So we, yeah.
condition people who are currently employed.
Yes.
That's our class.
That have had
That have
6 or more
serious
years.
Yeah,
of
and
continuous
it has to
service.
do
And
with
they're-
the 501c3. It has to be designated in order.
In order for it to.
Yeah.
To not get into some trouble with the IRS.
Yeah.
Which
We
we
have to
like to
establish
not
a
be in
class.
trouble.
And I'm very grateful for the auditor. I've spoken to him, he's done the research, he's reviewed.
It's a
it,
nice
language,
idea.
Said
It's
it's
great.
acceptable. So
Yeah.
I might
Okay.
have that in emails in case.
And then the 2 bullets that you have struck out, I assume that's because those are not going to be included.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
which I think is good.
Yeah.
Well,
There's-
because
There are a lot of people on staff that.
Correct.
that brings up a question, you know, an employee who says 6 or more years of continuous service, but has been an hourly employee.
They would still be able to get. this,
Yeah,
but-
that's nice. Yeah, I mean, that is thinking inclusively, you know, like.
And we went through that, should it be
Portion of
full
this
time,
one,
should
but-
it be, as you said, the Waldorf certified,
Yeah.
because they're the ones that are considered. The most highly valued, however, everyone is valued.
I really like that.
That's what
It's
they came
to have
get.
that.
Well, and I think the community as a whole, there's a lot of, would want to give, because they're still part of our community, even though they're not a
Right.
certified.
I don't think the community really
Sees
sees
that.
the significance of
different.
certified or not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's just
that's great.
the old stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
even the 6 years for me is a long time, and it, as a community, like, I think we like to take care of people, so,
Yeah.
that could be.
Well, and that kind of implies too that, and I don't know.
I
Yeah.
propose 6 years because it's generally considered 4 to 5 years to be fully invested in
Yeah.
your job
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
you're not still in a training mode or
Yeah.
learning mode. And
Sure.
So I went with that because it was one more than
Yeah.
5 years. And
Yeah.
that's, it's like That's enough to
And it
say, it's
doesn't-
1 year, you
Yeah.
haven't been here very long,
Yeah.
it's 10 years, it's too long.
Too long.
Yeah, so.
And it doesn't,
feel like
it also doesn't preclude individuals, like if you wanted to support.
You have to just do it on an
somebody,
individual basis.
You would, you
Yeah.
could personally support that individual, like it doesn't stop you
Yeah.
from doing anything.
Yeah.
But it stops the school from being able to organize that,
Exactly.
which I think is good, because then there's not like, well, this person. Has been here 2 years, but they're full-time, so
Yeah.
we really know them and we
Yeah.
want to support them, and that person's been here 2 years, but they're only. You
Yeah.
know, they only work 2 hours a day, so nobody really knows them, so should we, you know,
And then
it's
there's
like.
the night janitor, nobody knows.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
not nobody.
Yeah, you're right, but wanting to
will
make
not-
sure that regardless
Yeah.
of how well they're known.
We wouldn't want
they
it
would
to
all
be.
be supported.
I have one other thought on this, and again, it's, you know, the word serious. It seems like in another case, when I saw this policy, or, you know,
Mhm.
it was more, it was intended as more catastrophic. And so a serious thing, certainly, you know, I'm gonna go through a serious thing when I have my knees replaced, but that's not really so much the intention of this, is my understanding.
You could change that language to catastrophic.
Yeah, so I'm thinking it's more,
What does that want for medical terms when you have to change insurance, it's like change of quality of life? So
well,
then
yeah,
something like
but
that
I
is what you
would
mean.
say catastrophic just for people's understanding, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, that's.
yeah, because RA is serious, but it's not something, yeah, or something like that,
Yeah,
like you're saying.
yeah.
I get that.
Like,
Do we need to specify that it's a health condition that removes them from work?
Yeah.
I mean, because there are serious.
I think catastrophic would kind of. I don't know, I think then it could get so nitty gritty that it's like a really narrow qualification, so I keep it broad. Yeah, you know, that's my thought, but I do question the interpretation of serious.
Yeah, creates a financial burden,
Yeah.
you know, kind of.
Right,
To
and
that-
that's kind of the intent.
Yeah,
of it is.
exactly, to help.
Some-
that.
Yeah, some people's definition of serious
True.
is different than,
Right,
Definitely.
right.
Well,
No, I
Financial
like
burden,
that.
some people is different than.
yeah, I got a sister.
Well, sometimes the financial burden is whether or not you've taken time to prepare.
Yeah. Coming from the most prepared person at the table, I'm sure.
This makes me think of the children that come to the rest recovery.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ice pack.
Ice pack.
Yeah.
Ice pack.
Yes, yeah. And then the one that breaks their arm and doesn't cry. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, you know.
We won't go too far into this, or my husband when he has a leg cramp compared to me when I have a
Uh-huh.
kidney stone. I
Uh-huh.
drive myself to the hospital.
Yeah.
Because he's
So-
tired.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion.
Oh, yeah.
I do like the
Yeah.
recommended amendment to change serious to catastrophic. Does anybody else have any amended amendments or
Thank you
concerns
for
language?
remedying this with
Yeah,
a lot of.
That was a learning experience.
yeah. All right, well, if there's no additional discussion, I will call for a motion.
I move that we accept the voluntary financial support for staff members on proposed. With the changes discussed. Specifically changing serious to catastrophic. Is that right? Yeah. Okay.
Great, thank you, Vicky, for the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second Trisha.
Thank you, Tricia. If there's.
Well, we need to see it again, once it's there, or are we approving it? Okay, so then we need the funds
I
to be
was gonna
released.
ask that our normal policy of taking 2 months on this we would not do that this time. It's
Yeah.
fairly simple. It's not a whole policy.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
And we want to get it taken. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, my
yeah.
concern too.
All right, with that, thank you for that clarification question. And if there are no additional clarifying questions or other discussion, I will call for the vote.
Trisha, I.
Vicky, I.
Laurel, I.
Chelsea, I.
Leanna, I.
Kristen, I.
All right, I know we've discussed this some, but item 4.13, the board elections update. Is there any additional?
It's just the formal statement that we do not have an election at this point, so to make sure that's included in our minutes, because we do not have anyone to elect.
I'm a candidate.
You're a candidate, but you're only one, so we don't.
Okay.
You don't need to go through having people vote for you.
I would though.
Yeah, I would. too.
Me too.
Well, thank you. I mean, I know I don't know. If I can't inject humor into my life, I can't survive.
You enjoy this group too much, Laura.
I didn't hear what you said, Susan.
Did you enjoy this group too much? You know that you. do.
Yes, I do. I really, I'll just mention, I have been on other boards and I'm on a board and we just went through an incredibly stressful meeting and I just really appreciate the Blue Oak effort to be civil to one another. It's so critical and now more than ever. So thank you, all of you. You're really wonderful.
be mean.
What's that?
It is interesting.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
I wish I had on video what I sat through yesterday. It's just. And we got through it, you know.
So. All right, so we will continue to seek qualified community member candidates
How are we
to,
gonna do?
What about like, I feel like we talked about this before, reaching out to like Chico State for like people that are in like the teaching program, have we done them? Like that's.
Retired, California Retired Teachers
Or if there's,
Association
yeah, that's also.
might be
I
a,
would say, it's been my experience both on this board and other boards I've served on and for, that the most effective way to recruit board members is for board members to
yeah,
reach out and recruit board members.
yeah, I would say that's accurate. I was,
I
recruited.
was just gonna say.
I was recruited.
I was recruited, yeah.
That is.
People should feel it's kind of an honor to
Yeah.
be
I was-
recruited as well, you know, to let them know.
Yeah,
So,
so who do you know in the community that can fit in this? And that's, you know.
I brought in my community member.
Replacement, Leanna. Oh,
Yes, with it.
replace Chelsea.
So,
No replacement
yeah,
for her.
that's what I would say. Who do you know in the community who would fit well on the board and support the Waldorf program?
Candy Woods would be wonderful if we don't need another community member, but if, you know, that might be a thing where.
We do. need a community member.
Well, but I mean, she and I could interface on,
Candy is a past grandparent.
that's why I'm thinking of it, you know, and she's just a wonderful person and
Yeah,
And she's-
planning.
she's a good cook too.
Okay.
But I mean, you know,
There you
it
go.
could be, it could be if you had two people
Going or whatever.
who could ride together or something,
Yeah.
you know, so I don't know.
Knock
But
on
you
her
would be
door,
the one to
Laura.
You want me
recruit.
to ask her?
Knock
Yeah.
on her door, Susan.
Yeah.
And then
Let's
tell her
say
how
it's a
great
personal
the sport
favorite.
is and. Laurel's on it, she can carpool.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, you know, and. I mean,
All right.
Candy would be a
Excellent.
great fit for this board.
She would
really
actually.
would. So,
right.
She was also my neighbor, so.
she's, and she fed you a scrumptious dinner last
Oh
night.
my God.
It made
That's a
panna
good place
cotta,
to
yeah.
start. You're
Yeah,
number
I
one.
will ask her. I will
Great.
ask her.
Yeah,
Excellent, okay, well, that's good, at least we have one person to seek out, so I would really encourage everybody on the board.
the one
That's
difficult
kind of
thing for
date
retirees
that
is.
it's going to end, Or is it kind of open since it's not till August?
It's now open
It's now
because
open.
it was
yeah,
supposed to be,
You're
we should have had
still trying
elections to certify today.
My gosh.
So that's,
Yeah,
so the elections have technically ended, so I think at this point, because the elections have ended. We can receive
Yeah,
applications and it's no longer an election, there's no longer a voting process. The board then could appoint, just like we did this here. And so.
Your last meeting is. You will be your.
My understanding, typically that's when the turnover would happen. So like I would open the board meeting, and then we would appoint new board members and then the new positions would be.
And they don't have to be here, we'll just appoint them. Or we technically would have.
You mean if they
had-
apply. Correct, just like.
Yeah, and you start the
Yes.
meeting and then if you.
They would
choose
need to be at the August
And then
meeting
you-
theoretically. but,
Did we move on?
Appoint our new chair.
We must have already
Correct.
done. Our August meeting kind of usually always interfered with the break, the first week of school.
Yeah, I don't know that we've established, established calendar for next year's meetings yet.
I don't think so, but we did take it into consideration when we were planning, our beginning of the year stuff.
So.
I thought
I think
August
the issue is our meeting
Ooh.
in August, your meeting in August is off on the first day of school.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
August
So we
15th?
moved it
We moved it like
Fourth
one
week.
week.
week, for that.
Need a parent
Okay,
too.
so before we get too far down that, because that is not.
Laura has to stay and Ryan was just appointed.
Okay.
Pardon me?
So she's asking what positions we need to fill.
a community member.
So I shouldn't ask a parent.
Okay.
They could still apply as of yesterday, but we just appointed. I do have an announcement. I just realized that the next meeting is my daughter's birthday, so I will not be able to be here. Will we have enough parents with sign up?
I'm done too. I'm on.
So
a
we
lot of
can,
it.
we can have that discussion once we
Okay.
get to item
I'm so
6.
sorry.
I'd like to get through item 5 on the agenda
I
first.
forgot about. Items, yeah.
Yep, so we will be, we've gotten our board elections update. If there's no additional questions on the board elections or the update that was provided, we will move into item 5 for administration. Item 5.1 is to establish a date for the board retreat in August.
And the board retreat is the time where we really talk about the board's goals and roles and that sort of, have that conversation. We have had Brown Act training and other training. During that time, this is a commitment we made to do when we had, were audited by FICMAT, that we would have an annual training for board members. So my suggestion, just as I'm thinking about this and going through this, is we set out a survey to find out when you're all back at town. And then we'll establish a place and a time based on this.
I suggest we also use Laurel's place.
Say what?
If it's still available. No way.
Oh, of course, yeah,
Chico place.
yeah, sorry.
She's like, what?
I'm mesmerized by social media. Yeah,
Yeah.
Norway is a great place. And from my perspective, it's always clean because I don't live there. It's,
It was just a very nice environment.
Yeah,
when we met
yeah,
there
let's-
before, and so I
yeah,
think
let-
that
welcome to
great,
it, yeah.
location.
So we'll just
potential.
work on a date, in time.
So I apologize, but is the August meeting the 15th?
It will not, we have not established final calendar yet, but
Okay.
we will not have it on the 15th month. That will probably be the following
Okay,
week.
good.
Just because, we tried it once, and Alex and I almost didn't survive.
Yeah.
So it will most likely be the 22nd.
Okay, thank you.
What's the first day of school?
Oh, is it
so-
22nd the first day of school this year?
What
Yeah.
is it?
Isn't it?
Yeah,
And it's the 22nd.
Oh,
Meeting the week
So
before.
maybe we could be the 15th. If everybody's.
I will just note I'm not available.
Okay.
I'm not even.
And this is for the retreat. though.
right, so right now we're discussing the retreat and it sounds like a survey is gonna go out. Let's put on the next agenda for our next board meeting to establish. Dates for July and
Yeah.
the retreat and July and August meetings, just to ensure that we have enough.
I'm
people here
gone
for that.
mid-August through mid-July.
Yeah, then I feel like at the
Maybe
next
July
meeting, if we can, and maybe even when you
Oh,
send out the survey
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the board retreat, it could also have some. What dates might you be available for board meetings this summer, and then we can select that.
We just can't Zoom.
Yep, and
I could Zoom in August.
so then.
Otherwise I won't be
If
there.
we're gonna do a survey for the board retreat in August, that can take us now to item 5.2, the executive director's report. I know, y'all are like, yeah, I'm hurting you along.
Yes, thank you. You're doing a good job.
Let's go.
So we really feel that you should stay on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I
Okay, this is my Heritage Place planning performance promotions parties. Trips and testing, this is what May is all about. It is, we had a number of celebrations, for teachers, for administrators, for today we had a celebration of, the maintenance staff, we have a celebration for paraprofessionals. So it's been a really a recognizing of the importance of the whole staff this month. So I want to recognize that. And then really beginning the organization for next year, all of the pieces, the move that we're planning for next week, all of those things are going on. So it's been a very busy time. My two things that came from staff. And then when doing the staff appreciation, why did the student eat their homework? As the teacher said, it was a piece of cake. That was from the student. And then the medieval game talking about just the strengthening of children that activity does. Both that and the pentathlon, we really see an increase in the self-awareness and issues with kids. So that was great. Zip line. So she's asked them, what would King Arthur do? Our staffing for next year is continuing. We have filled both, we have two facility maintenance positions, one in the kitchen and one to replace our outgoing afternoon janitor. Both are here working really well in their positions, and we're excited to have that. And just nice to see the relief on Pat Maddox's face, not trying to make sure, still making sure everything gets done, but she's not as stressed as she was, so we're happy with that. I think most everyone knows now that Brianna Lee is leaving this year. But Kendra Cooley, who is currently in second grade, will be taking on 8th grade with support next year. Kendra is a trained Waldorf teacher and went through school, attended Waldorf schools, so she is aware and already a trained teacher, so that's really helpful. Susan Whittlesey a couple of weeks ago made the decision to retire this year. It's been coming for a couple of years, and she's been talking about it, so it wasn't a terrible surprise. Sheila Moss, who's been in first grade, was in kindergarten for a number of years, loves kindergarten. So as soon as she heard, I gotta find that, with it. I want to go back. And she loves the class she's in, and it is, since she was weepy today because she's leaving them, but she also her heart is in kindergarten. So we're glad.
That's her mouth.
I totally see that,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're keeping a good.
Yeah.
Well, and
How long
Sheila,
is Susan?
Sheila and Cheryl will be great.
22 years. So we will be acknowledging Susan tomorrow at the spring concert. Yeah,
that's wonderful.
she does not like to be acknowledged. She's a founder of the school, so I'm trying to get her to lead verse or something. She will not do it. So, but
Maybe she'd like to be on the board.
no.
Would be a great idea.
Susan, I'd love to keep you as part of the school. How about just once a month? Unpaid.
There you go. Should bring your dog.
Yeah. I think she has grandchildren in Colorado, so we may not see her much. So we are now interviewing for a second grade teacher. We have some applications for that. We did interviews and we're checking credentials for a potential Spanish candidate that we're pretty excited about. We've hired a new school counselor. Ashley Angel is her name, and she's coming up from Southern California to take over the position. So things the spots are filling up for us. So we're real excited about that. I think a lot of the rest that we're talked about. Can you roll it down a little bit further? Grant funding, we talked about the summer school, expanded learning. This is one of the grants that Vicki was talking about. So that we'll be using that towards that starting at 7:15 in the morning and going to 4:15 during the school year, plus 10 additional days during the school year. And I did not add on here that we'll do a summer camp in June. So we had talked about doing 4 weeks of summer school. We all got exhausted at the idea of doing 4 weeks of summer school. And then, so it goes from July 1st to June 30th. So we'll go back. We did a couple of years ago, I think it was 2019, so many things go back to that year. We had Welcome to Waldorf, and we did a summer camp through CARD for 2 weeks. And so that's what I'm looking at, doing something like that in June, taking July off, most of July, and then doing summer school right before we start the school year. So talking a little bit to CARD, they are here, of course, until 6:30, 6:15. We don't need to be here that long, so talking to them about possibly giving paying for our students to be there for a portion of the time if they're in CARD already, so we can work with CARD instead of displacing them. For those who need care until 6, I don't want us to get rid of CARD, but I also don't want to pay for them to be here till 6, and I don't have to.
Right,
So we're doing.
yeah,
so
that
if
makes
they-
sense.
If they need that extra 2 hours,
Mhm.
they're already paying for it. We'll just ask them to pay for it, we'll just help them pay for that, and then we do some, our clubs and so forth that we do in the afternoon, so. If children only need an hour until 4:15, they can be here, they can do a club. And so can the CARD children do the club, so I'm working with CARD on that, so we can really do that. Preschool planning and community school grant are the two that are next on my list, now that I'm getting fed and right done. And we have talked about LCAP, what else is on my?
I have just one question, the expanded learning fund, is that the one that we talked about last month? That we may have not qualified for because we weren't in the low income ratio, or is this other funds?
No, that's an additional one,
Okay,
that
That's more for the after school.
That is
support or
the
something, right?
ACEs, and that's specifically for middle school, where this is, we can spend it on middle school, but it requires us to do 1st through 6th, so that's like summer school is only 1st.
Thank you.
6th. So and then that ACEs is the other one that would be just for the middle school. Then we have been informed that we will be audited on a Williams Act again, that's a 3-year process. So we're still up on the Butte County list for that. Don't see, though, I didn't put it in here, but the only thing that we really got judged down on is the fact that we had ceiling tiles with stains in them, because we hadn't replaced the stained tiles, even though we'd fixed the leaks. So this year we will make sure that we have replaced the stained tiles.
Or can they just be painted, or maybe it's too much hassle?
I think they need to not have any, because they're looking at whether or not we have a leaky roof. And the
Yeah.
ceiling tile indicates there's been a leaky
Yeah.
roof.
Oh, that makes sense.
So that's why they don't want ceiling
Well,
tiles.
it should never go to any county buildings.
Yeah, I know, right?
So that's the Williams, so we will have that on the agenda, as that comes up. We did do all of the charter leaders, or most of us were at, Chico Unified's board meeting, this last month, and were presented there and asked some questions about it annually. Their staff member comes out and gives us, and we have a chat and ask questions, and mostly. We do well because their biggest concern is the diversity in the schools, and since we match pretty well what Chico Unified does, that we kind of go past that question really quickly, and then they're excited about our involvement in the NorCal ELC through Chico State. They're excited about us getting the community grant. Also, they have applied for the community grant, so we talked about some of that. So we can also, that was it. Is there anything else on there? Okay, so that's my report.
Thank you.
Excellent. Does anybody have any questions for Susan on her executive director's report?
No, I do not.
I appreciate your report, Susan. It's nice to hear of all the great things that are going on that aren't necessarily agenda items. I appreciate that very much. All right, that takes us to item 6. The next meeting is currently scheduled for Tuesday, June 20th. It sounded like maybe there was some schedule conflict, so I would like to just check and ensure that we will have a forum.
Maybe grab them.
I'm out of town,
I will be here, but I'm gonna miss the finance committee, the 13th Tuesday, I can't. I'll be on Wi-Fi. Even I can't even Wi-Fi.
So June 20th. I have it on my calendar and it looks like I am available.
I'm able to attend.
We have at least 2 community members. And you said you can
I
attend the
can be
June
here,
20th?
but I'll
Okay,
miss the finance.
excellent. That gives us 3.
Trying to check.
And you said you are able, you are
No,
not able
I'm
to do
not.
June 20th.
And you're not able.
So it's, maybe because it's being his first meeting?
If Ryan's able to be here for that, that would be great. That gives us 4 people, which would be a quorum. Also. if
Or could we
Laurel
change the date or
is
do
able to
this until?
No, we can.
I'm here June 20th.
Okay, excellent. So that gives us
Okay.
4 and potentially 5, and so that does give us a quorum.
Okay.
I am concerned about the finance committee because of Vicky is.
Yes.
there, we won't have a quorum.
Correct. So that will be something that you'll definitely need to connect to them.
The finance.
Yes,
Finance.
so that will be a date that will need to be changed, it sounds like. But.
I could, when is it, the 13th?
June 13th. At 4:15.
Restaurants.
If I could do that, I could share, I come for the day, right?
I wonder if the finance committee has the same restrictions. Can you zoom it?
No, you cannot.
You
It's
can't
still
do
a
it
round.
now?
Wow.
I am available June 13th, so I don't know that's.
So I,
So I'll let you
I'm
guys
sorry that I
work that
got,
out.
I really thought of it, so you need to close this meeting and then we.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I'll let you guys work that
Yeah.
out as soon as we close this meeting, and I will go ahead and do that now. Adjournment at 8 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank
so we're
you.